How do you get out of the rain? You move indoors. For the first time in the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games, we are inside the Coliseum at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. Glad you're with us, everybody. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. Nikki Brazier is down on the competition floor. We are through just one event here on what has already been an eventful opening day. Here are your standings for the women after bike to work. Haley Adams with her first career event win picks up the 100 points. Tia Toomey clearly slipping.
Yeah.
Second place with 97. 4 rookies inside the top 10. Event number 3, which is now the second event of the day. We're taking a traditional barbell speed ladder and we're gonna twist it.
Twist it indeed, and what we have is we have this round quarterfinal, semifinal, final that we traditionally see, like you said, in either maybe a sprint course variation on the field or with a barbell here in the competition floor. But this year, the twist is we can also increase the difficulty of skills with gymnastics.
Recipe for success is presented by Trifecta. Got to adapt or die here, Chase.
And I would say the 11th general physical skill outside of the regular 10 is something like adaptation. These are things athletes may have practiced, should have practiced, and possibly not. And when it comes unbroken, the execution factor here is huge when you talk about the double unders and the pistols.
Let's send it down to Nikki Brazier, who's on the competition floor.
Hey guys, now we are consistently elevating the level of programming for our elite athletes out here on the competition floor, but all these movements are actually variations of the basics that we perform in our CrossFit gyms every single day. Now the CrossFit Journal says we fail at the margins of our experience, but by intentionally pushing those margins, we can find the fittest on earth.
Thank you, Nikki. We have 4 heats of 10 women. The top 20 times will move on to round number 2. In lane number 6, rookie Rebecca Fuselier, who was a level 10 gymnast, started CrossFit when she was 13 and has competed as a teenager here at the Games.
And a huge advantage in an event like this that may be a big stressor for a lot of athletes, but the question may be, why are we going this route? Because it's always been in our DNA as CrossFitters that being proficient in gymnastics is essential to our development as athletes and what makes us CrossFitters to begin with. Over the years, we get so fascinated with speed on a track, weight on a barbell, but skills on the gymnastics floor is one thing we're exploring this year.
So look at Paige Powers, another one of the individual rookies here in the women's field. And we start on the pegboard, an implement that first showed up at the Games in 2015. And a large number of people, both men and women, were unable to complete a single ascent on this.
And you got to understand is that, exactly to your point, is in 2015, this was the event where it was basically stand and wait for time for a lot of athletes that couldn't climb it. Now, 2022, this is the buy-in round to cut people to the top 20.
And what you're going to do when one of these athletes gets over their jump rope first, it looks like it's going to
Victoria Campos is on to the jump rope. Now they have to do 75 single unders unbroken. They can speed skip. That is allowed. But if you miss, you go back to 0.
And this is where the execution error comes into play, because there's something to be said of having the basic skills of doing the basic movements. Do you want to get better at snatching a barbell? Then get the PVC pipe back in your hand. Do you want to get better at double unders? Then let's go back to single unders. Work on your foot position, your hand position.
Elisa Fuliano is the first woman done with her single unders. Now they have to do 10 single leg squats on the left leg. If they move out of that box, that blue box, if that other foot comes down at any time, they start back at 0. Talked to Adrian Bosman earlier today. He said this event is a controlled freak out.
Yeah, and it's exactly what it is, because there's the error of execution here. Should you go a little too fast than you're supposed to and you bounce outside of the box, start over. That heel touches the ground, start over.
Elisa Fuliano is on to
Oh, that she didn't even have to do it.
Well, she did not have to do the pirouette, but she still did. Now here comes Rebecca Fuselier next to her. So Fuliano did not need to do the pirouette, still executed it, and now she's neck and neck with Fuselier, and now it's going to be a foot race to the finish, and Fuliano's going to get the best of Fuselier on that by half a second. Christine Kohlenbrander is going to be the next woman down. Now Paige Powers is back on her feet along with Victoria Campos as they both come across the finish line.
Campos is one of the athletes that had to start her single unders over about 2 or 3 times.
Sung Young Choi is across the finish line. The top 20 times from this first round will move on.
Here we go.
Well, Fuliano just showed us that she's pretty good at the pirouette, that hopefully when she advances, she'll be okay.
And we will have another finisher with 10
Michelle
seconds
Marins
remaining, athletes.
And Elena Carnatala Sanahuya is still working on her single leg squats.
Will we have a 3?
And Sola Sugadottir does not get in inside the 3-minute time cap.
1 minute.
Next heat coming out on the floor, as there is Elisa Fuliano who will have the top time with now 3 heats remaining.
I don't think I took a breath that entire time watching it happen.
Here are the women who are in heat number 2, and anytime we're doing a handstand walk, Danielle Brandon is going to be a factor. She's in lane 8.
Danielle Brandon made a name for herself and a statement last year during the handstand walk event with the speed and ferocity that she attacked with. A lot of times you'll see athletes take break in between implements to pause. She didn't do that at all. If anyone's suited to have success here, it's the handstand walk, but you got to get through the pegboard first.
And it is just that quick, ladies and gentlemen. This event, no joke.
Second heat is underway. Elisa Fuliano has your top time, 2:06.19 seconds.
Danielle Brandon, center of your screen, unbroken. Both pegs needs to be secured at the top. Both pegs needs to be secured below the red line before athletes can come down. So an element of control needs to be shown before they hop off.
Brandon is done first out of the jump rope. Here comes Turi Helgadottir and Danny Spiegel, 75 unbroken single unders here.
The thing you got to be careful of is that you want to race, as you said before, a controlled freakout. Athletes want to race here. They're so used to going fast on double unders, but with the unbroken looming, a single under just needs to be unbroken. That's going to be the fastest route. You don't want to miss at a 10 or a 15, but just staying relaxed here. The pistols are coming, you still have a handstand walk. You can only lose the event here on the jump rope portion of these tests.
Turi Helgadottir and Danielle Brandon onto the single-legged squats first. Helgadottir's in the middle of your screen.
Again, the time to beat in our last heat. Elisa with the
I
time.
love that they're keeping them on one leg this year. It's just so great. You can easily establish a full range of motion. It's easy for the judges, but this unbroken element where you bring in balance and coordination to what is typically a testament of speed and stamina.
Helgadottir is your leader. Brandon right behind her. Ellie Turner and Paige Semenza in the top 4. Now Brandon right behind Helgadottir onto her hands, and Brandon, like she shot out of a cannon, up and over onto her feet. Danielle Brandon is across. 1:53.39 seconds. Helgadottir is in. 1:57.95 for her. Ellie Turner looking to be the next woman to finish up. She has a stumble, but she will get across, and here comes Danny Spiegel. Amanda Barnhart is in. Paige Semenza stumbled in lane number 1, and she comes across at the top of your screen. 3 women still on the floor. Alice Gazan is one of them. Julia Cato.
As we approach the 30-second marker.
Caroline Spencer and also Sydney Mikulishin still on the floor. Less than 30 to go here before we hit that 3-minute time cap.
Yeah, but Sean, Sydney hasn't even got through the single unders yet.
20 seconds to go. Kato able to bring it home. 15 seconds.
Cato, Spencer, and Gazan get across with about 10 seconds to spare. And Sydney Mikulishin is not going to get through the single unders as we are through now 2 of the initial 4 heats. Top 20 times. Move from this round to the semifinal round.
And I said before, if Danielle Brandon can get to the handstand walk portion, there's no one out here that can beat her. The test will be that as the skills increase on the pegboard and the pistols.
Heat number 3 of 4. In lane at number 5, Brooke Wells, another athlete. Very good on her hands.
And also, it's just great to see her back out here in contention once again after what she went through. Basically, the last time she stepped out here on the Coliseum floor was when she had that elbow injury during the snatch event. So this is not just her first time to the games, but her first time back in the Coliseum in front of all these people. Got 3rd last year in the handstand walk and is one of the best in the game when it comes to handstand walking. The question is, how's the elbow holding up on the pegboards? How's it going to hold up on these implements after that surgery?
3rd heat underway, starting with the pegboard once again.
Doesn't mean that they can't be passed, as we saw with Danielle Brandon setting that time to beat. 153 is the time.
There goes Brooke Wells on her initial ascent
Number 3
up that pegboard.
of the event. Skill, speed, Medley.
Brooke got a little stuck
Athletes make their way down
at the top, and she'll take a break in the middle of the floor. We see a lot of athletes going unbroken so far.
Ariel Lowen, Jacqueline Dahlstrom, and Bailey Rail onto the single unders. Carolyn Prevost, who is next to Dahlstrom, just tripped. She'll start back at 0.
The question might be, why do this alternating foot cadence? Because this is a warm-up movement. This is what a lot of athletes will do, either warming up for double unders or actually warming up for track events. This is a skill that some athletes will use to practice staying on the balls of your feet and alternating those feet in that cadence.
Jacqueline Dahlstrom is on to the single leg squats first. They have to start on their left leg. Complete 10, then 10 on the right leg. Ariel Lowen still in 2nd place. Christy O'Connell onto the one-legged squat. She is in the black shorts, was at the top of your screen. Dahlstrom on the right is your leader right now.
And the game you play is, how fast is too fast? Do you fall into that trap of getting outside of your comfort zone and you have one stumble outside of the box, you're on rep 7, and now you got to start all the way over?
Dahlstrom is done. She'll be first onto the handstand walk. Danielle Brandon has the top time, 1:53.39, and remember the top 20 times we move on. But Dahlstrom is well within that range right now, and she's going to win heat number 3 with a time of 2:01.46 seconds. Ariel Lowen will be next across.
With a time of 2:07.
Carolyn Prevost, who played collegiate hockey here in Madison, is across. Christy O'Connell and Bailey Rail. Now Sarah Kaya.
30 seconds.
Gabby McGowan. Karen Freyova also across. Less than 30 seconds to go before we hit the time cap.
Oh, wow. Gabby actually had a lot of trouble on the pegboard and the single ones.
And here comes Brooke Wells, and she gets in inside the time cap. Freya Moosbrugger just got no rep on the handstand walk, and she has to go back to the beginning. Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
And Sean, so far we haven't seen any athletes have a skills issue as far as their ability to do the actual movement. What we've seen is that the ability to do your single unders unbroken, your pistols without stepping outside the box or letting your heel touch the ground.
4th and final heat will feature Tia Toomey right in the middle of the floor, but keep an eye on Mal O'Brien, who won the opening event inside the Coliseum last year.
And already took a 6th place finish in the cycling event with the toes to bar and chest to bar pull-ups earlier this morning. And one of those athletes that has been crowned as the heir apparent to what could be Tia Toomey.
Stand by. All right, ladies and
Onto the
gentlemen,
pegboard
heat number 4.
to start things off.
We have our top 5 after event number
That's
1
Haley
there.
Adams,
In the middle right there.
Tia Toomey, and
Ladies
Laura
and
Horvath.
gentlemen, coming into this event is
Got to the
Haley
top first. I think
Adams.
Laura Horvath is in the early lead here.
Mal O'Brien working her way up on her second climb at lane 3. Laura Horvath is already on the descent, and there's that rock climbing background coming to play for Laura Horvath.
And Tia Toomey almost slipped in lane 6, but was able to save it. Laura Horvath is on to the single unders first. And here come Mal O'Brien and Tia Toomey and Emma Lawson. Haley Adams wearing the leader's jersey after getting her first career event win is on to the single under. 75 reps here.
75 reps unbroken. For you guys watching at home, they cannot miss. They miss at 74. They have to start all the way over, back at 0. And the weirdest part about single unders.
And Toomey just tripped.
No.
Toomey's back to 0. Tia Toomey just tripped.
Now what she has to do is stay calm. It's nearly impossible to stay calm. You panic when you miss double unders, and it's not unbroken.
Laura Horvath and Emma Lawson were the first two onto the pistols. They're at the top of your screen. Mal O'Brien is at the bottom. Horvath struggling with balance a little bit. Remember, if that foot comes down,
Wow.
and now she's got to get things sorted.
Emma Lawson is flying through these pistols, and you want to say balance? That's that dancer background for Lawson.
Horvath is struggling badly here. Emma Lawson.
Oh no, that's a hand on the line. Yeah,
She's got
hand
to
on the
restart,
line.
but Lawson has a huge lead right now.
Emma Lawson.
And here comes Mal O'Brien. And Emma Lawson has fallen, and that will open the door to Mal O'Brien to win this heat. O'Brien is through, and she will move on to round number 2. Emma Lawson is still in second, but Alexis Raptis is trying to hunt her down.
Tia Toomey, center screen, still has a shot.
Emma Lawson is in. Alexis Raptis is across. And a great comeback from Horvath as Haley Adams is going to edge her out. Now here comes Tia Toomey.
Oh man.
Saunders and Garnes are in. So Lucy Campbell and Emma McQuaid
Tia
still on the
Toomey
floor.
pulled off a 6th place finish after missing on the single unders late too. It wasn't an early miss, that was a late miss for Tia.
10 seconds remaining.
It's Mal O'Brien at 2:02.31 seconds. And remember, top 20 times move on, and this was by far the fastest heat as far as the women who got across the finish line are concerned. So very likely that all 8 of the women in this heat who finished will move on. But we have to wait and see officially. But they definitely
It's going to be
did themselves some
close.
favors there at the end.
It's going to be very close.
But Tia Toomey with a rare stumble now has to see if she's going to advance.
And the thing to understand is that these stumbles are uncharacteristic for all athletes that are taking these stumbles. The miss on Laura Horvath on pistols, the fall of Emma Lawson on the handstand walk, the miss on the single unders for Tia Toomey. If you're an athlete in the back waiting for this, you have to understand that nothing is for certain. The amount of focus and attention you are going to need when it comes to the single unders, the pistols, the handstand walk, is just as important as the execution of the movement itself.
Let's go down to Nikki Brazier, who had a front row seat to all the action. Nikki?
Ooh, so much intensity, guys, here on the competition floor. And, you know, the most interesting thing that I'm seeing, so many different variations and techniques on those single unders. This is not something that we oftentimes see these elite level athletes doing. And you can kind of tell who's had practice doing them recently and who hasn't. The folks that have got 2 feet on the ground, balls on their feet, they're very comfortable and they have a very quick turnaround. They are the ones who practice. And a lot of folks down here have a kind of a running man style, and you can tell that they're trying so hard not to trip up. Nobody wants to start back at 0. Let's see how things change in these upcoming heats.
Take a look back at the 4 heats that we just watched as we tabulate the top 20 times to be moving on. We had a good race in heat number 1 between Elisa Fuliano and Rebecca Fuselier.
Fuliano had the extra pirouette on the handstand walk and still managed to win, but Danielle Brandon, again, if you can get her on her hands, get her past the beginning part, really no one going to be able to touch her when it comes to this. Heat 3, this is where we start having the execution errors in the back part of the field, but Dahlstrom did what she needed to do, just a few seconds off Danielle Brandon's pace. Laura Horvath absolutely crushed the pegboard, was fine on the single unders, but got a little squirrely on the pistols. And there you see, that was not an error of execution, but she thought she was done and put her foot down. Emma Lawson falls and opens the door up for Mal O'Brien, which looks like the beginning part of Granite Games when she had to come out and win the first event on her hands as well.
And there is Tia Toomey, who slipped on the pegboard, was able to save it, and then missed on her single under. So these are your top times that will be moving on. There are your top 10. Danielle Brandon at 153.39. That's where we saw in Heat 1.
At event 3, quarterfinals, top 10 right there. Danielle Brandon with that top time. Turi Hilgedottir, Jacqueline Dahlstrom.
Now 11 through 20.
Oh
And Tia
my goodness.
does not move on.
Cutting the field in half and raising the stakes slightly.
Laura Horvath is the last woman in at 2:23 by less than 0.2 of a second.
Okay, sorry, here we go.
Wow.
Let's do this again. We've got Laura Horvath advancing, Haley Adams, Victoria Campos, Christy O'Connell, Paige Powers, Alexis Raptiste, Christine Kohlenbrander, Emma Lawson, Carolyn Prevot, Paige Semenza, Amanda Barnhart, Danny Spiegel, Ellie Turner, Ariel Lowen, Rebecca Fuselier, Elise Fuliano, Mallory O'Brien, Jacqueline Dahlstrom, Turi Hilgedottir, and Danielle Brandon. Those athletes will be advancing.
Tia Toomey not moving on. And these are the training partners for Proven Fitness. Brooke Wells and Tia Toomey, a look of disbelief on their faces. Tia Toomey, over the last 3 years, has only finished outside the top 10 in a games event 3 times, and that's in 46 total events.
And it came down to a single under.
You know, you think back to 2014 when Rich Froning was on the cusp of winning 4, and he had that moment on
during the speed clean ladder, but we thought he was out.
But he made it.
But he made it in. And that was the only reason he won that year, because it was so close. Had he not made it that year, who knows what would have happened.
There are definitely some shocked faces around the Alliant Energy Center right now. The first of now 2 heats, top 5 women moving on to the finals. Laura Horvath, who is the last woman to sneak in, she will be down in lane number 10, and now we up the complexity and the difficulty of some of these movements. And there is Tia Toomey, who is now going to be a spectator for the rest of this event.
10 seconds. Athletes on your green starting mat. 10 seconds.
We're in the semifinal round.
One pegboard ascent, strict. Athletes will not be allowed to use their feet to help them up the pegboard.
Some women in this heat just got done working. Haley Adams is in lane number 9. She just got done in that final heat. Laura Horvath is in lane 10. The one strict ascent. And Horvath looks like she's going to be the first woman done.
Our judges
Victoria Campos
is the first woman done, just ahead of Horvath. Now it's the 50 double unders that need to be unbroken.
Back to familiar territory. We're back to the double under, and this is one of those that can be raced when there's no fear of failure, when there's no fear of unbroken or start over. And Laura Horvath on the right has missed twice so far in the set of 50, and I said you had to be relaxed.
And Campos just missed 2. She's back to 0. Emma Lawson on the far end of the floor. She's on the far left side of your screen.
Laura Horvath just missed again.
Now she just, Emma Lawson is on to the single-legged squats. Same rules apply this round as did last round. Christy O'Connell moves into second place in the heat. Paige Semenza is now in third, followed by Haley Adams.
The pace and balance that Emma Lawson has in the top part of your screen on these single-leg squats is an absolute weapon in an event that needs to be as quick yet as controlled as this needs to be.
Lawson is through. Now the handstand walk. She has to get on her hands, complete a full 360 in that 4x4 blue box. She is through that. Now it has to be up and over the obstacle unbroken. Remember, she fell the last time on this part of the event.
I think a lot of that was just due to going too fast, getting caught up in the moment.
And Lawson is through cleanly, and Lawson is going to take the first heat. Haley Adams has moved into second place. Christy O'Connell is in third along with Paige Semenza. Semenza's at the top of your screen. Now here is Haley Adams looking to be the next woman in, and she is across. Christy O'Connell is in. Paige Semenza is down, and Semenza will come across the finish line. Carolyn Prevost right behind her. Alexis Raptis is in. Laura Horvath is now done. And now Campos is in. So Lawson, Adams, O'Connell, Semenza, and Prevost all have a chance to move on. Top 5 times advance here. So the last time is 2:18.75 seconds from Carolyn Prevost, as Christine Kohlenbrander is not going to get in, and neither will Paige Powers.
You have 1 minute. Athletes, 1 minute.
Airs we saw. Obviously with a strict pegboard, you've either got it or you don't. That's the big element there. Do you have the upper body pulling strength and stamina to get your way up and down the pegboard without using your legs? The execution errors that we've seen on double unders is fascinating to me. These athletes can do 200, 300 in a row, but when you say you have to do it unbroken, absolutely incredible what that's done to these athletes.
Second of 2 heats here, Danielle Brandon, who had the fastest time in round 1, will be at the far end of the floor in lane number 1. And there is Mal O'Brien
10 seconds.
looking to move into the final round here.
Stand by.
Joshua, you're looking at your top 10
1
times
strict pegboard ascent.
Quarterfinal round. Let's see how these ladies handle this next upgrade. We'll call it.
Lane 6 is Rebecca Fuselier. She's in the middle of your screen. She just got to the top, as did Danielle Brandon. Brandon working her way down, as is Jacqueline Dahlstrom. Dahlstrom, O'Brien, and Brandon. First 3 done. 50 unbroken double unders for them. And here comes Fuselier and Elisa Pugliano. Marie Helgadottir, Amanda Barnhart, and Ariel Lowen, as Danny Spiegel and Ellie Turner are still on the pegboard.
Find a pace you're comfortable with and stick with it. Don't race the other athletes on 50 double unders. Just find something that you know you can keep and do unbroken.
And no rep for Danielle Brandon.
Danielle Brandon just trying to go a little too quick. She's got to understand it. She doesn't have to really race here because how good she is on her hands. She just has to get there unscathed. That's the trick for Danielle Brandon.
Mal O'Brien on the right side of your screen with a really good pace here. She's on her second 10 and she is done. O'Brien first of the handstand. No problem on the pirouette. Here comes Danielle Brandon. Brandon quickly through the pirouette. And Brandon is threatening to catch Mal O'Brien, but she may not have enough real estate. O'Brien is down. And O'Brien is in. Here comes Danielle Brandon.
Danielle Brandon all smiles as she crosses the finish line with a time of 1:46.
Lisa Fuliano will make it in. Here comes Rebecca Fuselier. Dahlstrom and Lowen across. And Turi Helgadottir. So far, all of these women have beaten the 5th best time from the last heat. That was 2:18.75 as Amanda Barnhart, and now Danny Spiegel are across. We could see a case for the top 5 from this heat.
Maybe, yeah, maybe in the top 5 overall.
In the winner-take-all final, as Ellie Turner is still trying to figure out a way to get a strict climb here.
20 seconds.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see if she's going to give it another go. She's got a little over 10 seconds remaining.
Think back to 2015 when this first showed up, we saw a lot of this.
And we did. We saw it at the end of the weekend where there was really no consequences to that. But I like the move by Ellie Turner, knowing it's not going to happen. It's going to be a long, long weekend. They don't know what's coming. There's no need to blow yourself up, put yourself in a dangerous position that you're not going to be successful with anyways. I like that move by Turner.
Tia Toomey unofficially is going to finish 23rd in the event. It's the 2nd worst event finish in her career. The worst was in 2015, her rookie year, when she took 31st in heavy DT. Send it down to Nikki Brazier.
It is so very interesting down here, guys, to see how many women are tackling this pegboard over and over with no hesitation. Back when we first saw the pegboard at the CrossFit Games in 2015, almost none of the women out here on the competition floor could complete the 2 ascents that were required. My, how far we've come when now we're going strict, we're going legless, and no one is batting an eye almost in this top 20 heat.
The NOBULL CrossFit Games. Fill up your water bottles at the Yeti hydration stations found all over.
Now waiting to find out who the 5 women will be who will move on to the final heat. Winner take all. And it looks like Mal O'Brien, Danielle Brandon, Emma Lawson, Elisa Fuliano, and Rebecca Fuselier are going to be the ones moving on. That's unofficial right now.
In lane number 6, Elisa Fuliano. In lane number 5, Emma Lawson.
Emma Lawson, heat 1, is pretty much all by herself in the first heat, and she's the only athlete to qualify out of the first heat. All 4 additional ones were in that 2nd heat. Now, Emma Lawson in the first part was actually ahead of Mal O'Brien on the quarterfinal area, but she ended up falling on the handstand walk. Mal O'Brien in this section was able to get her 2nd heat win, holding off Danielle Brandon, and Danielle Brandon only got there because she had a no rep on her pistols. So you got 3 athletes between Emma Lawson, Mal O'Brien, and Danielle Brandon. I mean, all these athletes have looked awesome so far, but having all packed together in this heat is going to be quite a show.
3 rookies moving on here. And there are your 2 vets, and one of them is a teenager. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, the final heat for the women in event number 3. It's time for winner take all here in event number 3 for the women at the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games, and Mal O'Brien and Danielle Brandon both looking to lock up 100 points with the event win. Thanks for being with us, everybody, inside the Alliant Energy Center. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram, and Nikki Brazier is down on the competition floor. Event number 3 presented by Yeti. We are in the final round. Things are getting really complicated now.
We still got the strict ascent on the pegboard for the athletes, and then the double crisscross overs followed by the pistols. But this, a handstand walk from a L position into a handstand crossing the pirouettes themselves.
And then onto your feet and across the finish line. Couldn't be simpler.
Couldn't be simpler. Adapt to the situation or fall behind the rest of the pack. Unbroken or bust when you look at the pistols themselves. For the crisscross overs for the double unders, they do not have to be unbroken. One change here. When you're looking at what's on the table for these athletes, for this event itself, when wall walks were introduced last year by Dave Castro, it was a warning to athletes all over the world to go back to the principles that made CrossFit 20 years ago. In 2004, Greg Glassman said, from handstands, handstand walking, and pressing to handstands, they are critical exercises in developing your athlete's potential and essential components to becoming CrossFit. You want to get better at this sport? Make sure you guys know where we came from and where it all started.
There is Mal O'Brien. Next to her is Danielle Brandon. Now, Emma Lawson came into this event in 3rd place overall. Depending how she does here, the 17-year-old could be your overall leader after 2 events.
The caliber of athletes, we talked about leaning on your history. She wasn't even born when this movement was created, when these articles were written by Greg Glassman.
Final heat underway. 1 strict pegboard ascent.
And here are your top 5 into this event. All looking for that first
Emma Lawson, Danielle Brandon, and Mal O'Brien, along with Rebecca Fuselier, getting to the top at about the same time. Giuliano is falling back. Danielle Brandon is done first. Now on to the jump rope. 25 double unders with the crossover. They do not need to be unbroken.
Now on these double under crossovers, if they break, they can continue on.
And the test here is really a test of athleticism. The ability to adapt on the fly. Do you have the wherewithal as an athlete to be able to either learn this for the first time, or like we said, adapt or die? Do you have the ability to do something maybe you've never done before? And that's the weird wrinkle as far as this test is concerned. The race portion of this is, as you get through the crisscross on the double unders, is basically over. Unless you're just, if you're on the jump rope dare team in elementary school, which I got cut from, I'm not going to bring that up. You probably never tried something like this before.
All the women here are just trying to figure out how to string a couple reps together. Danielle Brandon looked like she was in a good rhythm early on. And now she's continuing to move. So Danielle Brandon looking pretty good here. At the front of your floor, got about 3 reps. Mal O'Brien got another one in.
Danielle Brandon talking with her judge about how the judge is counting it.
Lisa Giuliano and Emma Lawson are in front here. Lawson is on the back half of this set. Now Danielle Brandon once again with a nice rhythm here. And she is in the lead.
But she's only separated by 1 rep from Emma Lawson.
Over a couple hours ago, these athletes just learned about
The big thing here, Sean, is raising the bar. Raising the bar for the athletes, year in, year out. We saw it in 2015 with the pegboard where no one can do it. Now we're getting 6 strict.
And Brandon is just about done. We're inside 30 seconds to go. So we may not get to the handstand portion of this event. If Brandon can get to that, she can do herself a huge favor. So 15 seconds to go.
Fuselier just 1 behind her.
And it looks like Fuliano did get through all of those double unders. She was moving on to the handstand portion, so Elisa Fuliano may have just won that event. We'll have to wait for the official score.
And the wild part was Fuliano was the last one off the pegboard.
We'll have to see how it all shakes out, but Elisa Fuliano looked like she was moving on to the handstand portion.
Technically would be event number 3, even though we were a little postponed today. That leaderboard.
But Mal O'Brien
shaken up.
and Emma Lawson came into this event in 6th place and 3rd place respectively. Emma Lawson, like we said at the top of that heat, may wind up with the overall lead, and Mal O'Brien could find herself in 2nd. A lot still needs to happen, but after 2 events,
potentially at the top of your women's leaderboard. Feel that 2 of the youngest athletes basically ever competed at the CrossFit Games.
well, last year Mal O'Brien was the youngest woman, became the youngest woman to ever win an individual event at the CrossFit Games when she won the wall walk thruster event inside the Coliseum here. The way things are going, I would be surprised if those 2 go out and win an event too.
All right, she threw it into the crowd. Who else wants one? What about on this side?
This is the start of that final heat. And then you mentioned Fuliano was the last woman off the pegboard.
Fuliano 2nd from the right, struggling a lot on the strict pegboard itself, where your top 4 athletes got through, and Danielle Brandon looks like she had a great rhythm. Obviously getting frustrated with the calls, but Fuliano, you can see her step right across the line at the very end, designating she did complete all 25, where all the other athletes were on the rope. So Fuliano may get that win.
We will take a break. When we come back, the men take on the skill speed ladder here at the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games. These are the unofficial results right now. Fuliano with a cap of 27 reps remaining, but again, that's unofficial. It looked like she was done and was moving on to the handstand, but yeah, we'll wait for the official call on that.
Woo, men's turn. Good luck, boys.
Action continues on the opening day of the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games from inside the Coliseum at the Alliant Energy Center in Madison, Wisconsin. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. Mike Arsenault tagging in. He's down on the competition floor now. This is the 3rd scheduled event, but the 2nd event the men will compete in here. Here are your overall standings after the 1st event. Ricky Garrard wins event number 1. More on that in a second. Yonakoski finishes in 2nd. He earns 97 points. Justin Medeiros, the defending champ, sits in 3rd, followed by Jeff Adler and Spencer Panchin. There was a lot of confusion from event number 1, and it started when both Spencer Panchin and Lazar Jukic came into the North Park thinking they were done after only 4 laps. Jukic looked like he was going to go back out on the course. He didn't. Both he and Spencer finished, but they had only completed 4 laps. Then there was a lot of confusion between Yonakoski and Ricky Garrard and how Ricky caught him. And if you look in the upper left-hand corner, that's the pack right behind Yonakoski as Koski came in on his final lap.
All right, so Koski was in the back of the pack. You saw the bike tires. That was Nick Matthew and Ricky Garrard, the pack that was chasing him. Here's what you gotta look. He's gonna pass this red pylon. Bam. From the time it takes him to pass the pylon, Ricky Garrard's gonna roll in with Nick Matthew on the left. That's 7 seconds behind Koski. Koski's gonna enter the arena. Koski enters the arena. He has to run all the way across the field to his lane. He even slips. It takes him 10 seconds, and right then, that 3-second difference was what opened the door for Ricky Garrard to pass Janikowski. Look at the distance between the two. That took Koski 10 seconds. He was 7 seconds ahead at the pylon. He lost 10 seconds in the arena, and that's how Ricky Garrard got the win.
Ricky Garrard, with his first official event win at the CrossFit Games, picks up 100 points as a result, and there have been a lot of questions. How did he do it? That was how. He was back there. Koski didn't see him. He was able to make up that ground on the final lap. His fifth and final lap was the fastest of all of his final laps, and he poured it on, did Ricky Garrard, and he made up some significant ground and was able to win the event. Event number 3 is the skill speed medley, and as we saw with the women, things escalate quickly.
Yes, they do, but they start with just a simple little test of pegboards with your feet. Who knew that was just kind of easy now? the new casual pegboard. And then 75 single unders into the pistols on the left and right leg. It must be unbroken. Single unders and pistols must be unbroken, as well as the handstand walk.
Recipe for success, presented by Trifecta. Did anything change after watching the women?
It's got to. I mean, almost a little bit more pressure when it comes to that, and it's adapt or die. Learn how to do this on the fly. If you've never have, what have you been doing, but you've never had, it's time for you to adapt here on the field.
Let's bring in Mike Arsenault down on the floor.
Well, Sean, it is dry here inside the Coliseum. The relief provided by Mother Nature, the extra rest could be beneficial to these athletes. Even though we've seen the pegboard before, this is the first time they'll be doing strict reps, which means their soles of their feet cannot touch the wall. Another wrinkle, typically all implements that are tested in each event are available to the athletes in the warm-up area. Not the case with the pegboards. These athletes will be attacking this cold.
30 seconds, athletes.
First of 4 heats, top 20 men moving on. Tudor Magda, a rookie in lane number 9. You get this kid on his hands.
Yes.
He can move faster on his hands than I think I can on my feet.
I really didn't understand how fast he was until I saw him at the semifinals and the speed at which he has on his hands, and that is a huge weapon because some of the toughest skills tested outside of the unbrokenness is the handstand walk part.
There is Tudor Magda on his first climb up that pegboard.
This is the quarterfinals for this event. All 40 athletes coming through here. Then we're going to cut the field of play and ask.
Brent Fikowski in lane number 4. Moving quickly.
Once that is done, they got those 75 single unders, those single squats, and of course that handstand walk.
Fikowski knocking out his third climb here. And he is done. Brent Fikowski onto the single unders along with Austin Spencer, Tudor Magda, Heinrich Happelainen. Here comes Travis Mayer, Tim Paulson, and now Colton Mertens.
He said it's so weird to come to a movement that typically in an event you'd be racing other athletes with as far as your cadence and your speed. When it comes to 75 single unders, the focus and intention of speed goes out the window, of just staying smooth and calm. But the pressure as you get closer to 75 mounts tremendously.
Heinrich Happelainen and Austin Spencer done at the same time. Here comes Travis Mayer and now Tim Paulson.
Also right there with the Travis.
10 reps on the left leg to start, then 10 on the right. Now, if you don't hit depth, you don't have to start back at 0.
Right, a no rep as far as depth or extension is not cause for starting things over again. It's walking outside or stepping outside of the box, or that heel possibly hitting the ground during the movement.
Austin Spencer is the first man onto the handstand walk. Here comes Heinrich Happelainen, and now Brent Fikowski is in third. And Spencer falls. He's got to go back to the beginning. Happelainen and Fikowski fighting for the lead. Brent Fikowski, he falls.
Wow.
And Heinrich Happelainen is going to take heat number 1. Tim Paulson looking like he might slide into second place here. Paulson at the top of your screen is back on.
Oh, he's got no rep.
No rep. He did not completely get over the line, and Austin Spencer is going to take second. That is big for Tim Paulson as here comes Travis Mayer. And now a race between Mertens and Fikowski. Fikowski edges him out by 6/100ths of a second. And now Tim Paulson is through.
Sean, in lane 9, Tudor Magda has not gotten through the single unders yet. One of the best handstand walkers in the men's field.
Just missed again.
Can't even get out of the single unders.
Final seconds here, and Tudor Magda isn't going to make it to the handstand. Heinrich Happelinen at 2:06.33 seconds. Was in a race with Fikowski, who a couple of years ago had a costly stumble on a handstand walk in 2019.
And for Fikowski to pull a 4th place out after that fall is pretty impressive. But again, we're going off overall time for your top 20, and then a tough no rep for Tim Paulson.
Second of 4 heats, Guy Mayeros.
The thing with Guy is that he's so known, obviously, for his strength and his speed, but he's a very underrated handstand walker. For him, and like we've seen for everybody, there's elements in this test that are having a massive factor, different than anything they've been tested with before.
Mayeros 7th overall last year. In his second individual appearance at the CrossFit Games, he won 3 events. And he stumbles right off the bat.
Guy Harris was about halfway up the board and fell off, and that's a product of going too fast. There isn't really a race on the pegboard other than just being smooth and up and down, unbroken. And Guy Harris just came out of the peg again. He was able to stay up there, so Guy stumbled twice. Most athletes are on their 3rd pegboard. Guy just finished his 1st.
Sam Quan in lane 8 is going to be the next man to the jump rope behind Nick Matthew, who is in lane number 1. Quan is second. Here come Cole Sager, Enrico Zanoni, Guy Mayeros,
now it's
and Guillaume
interesting
Brion.
with Matthew is that he's actually jumping twice on 1 foot. Now I'm not sure how that's going to get counted because he's bouncing.
Breather there as he chips away at 75.
Look, 2 jump, 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know how that got counted for a 75 because it's got to be what you can bounce on 1 leg. Really, that's all that matters. As long as it's 1 pass the rope, you can do it all on 1 leg if you want to.
Guy Mayeros is in second now behind Nick Matthew. Cole Sager and Sam Quan fighting for 3rd, and Guillaume Brion is in 4th. Enrico Zanoni and Keelan Henry are also under the single leg squats.
Yeah, see, Matthew, you can bounce as much as you want. You can use 1 foot, you can alternate. So he's going for 2 bounces on each foot. We haven't seen that technique yet, which threw me off a little bit, but that's good to go.
And now Matthew is through his 21-legged squats. He's onto the handstand walk. Here comes Guy Mayeros in second. Guy Mayeros is up on the ramp, trying to catch Nick Matthew. Matthew is done. Matthew a somersault, and he is in. Guy Mayeros is on his feet. Here comes Guy, and now it's neck and neck between Zanoni and Sager. Sager wins that race, and here comes Sam Quant, looking to lock up 5th place in the heat. Sam Quan, who finished 2nd overall in 2020. Guillaume Brion is in.
And you look at these times, I think these times were still faster.
Less than 30 seconds, athletes.
We saw Fikowski got
Henry.
4th.
Keelan Henry stumbled and immediately grabbed his right hamstring.
Making his way up this ramp. We've got 15 seconds remaining.
He's been nursing a bum hamstring for a little while now, as Baden Brown is in, and Julius Carabas. Nick Matthew at the top time, 2:04.54 seconds. Looking to move on to round number 2.
Yeah, Nick Matthew bringing a crop top and a forward roll to the finish line. Matthew actually just missed out by a single spot at Granite Games, just missed out by a spot at Last Chance Qualifier, and then got the backfill invite to get him through to the games for the first time.
Heat number 3, Pat Vellner gonna have to dig himself out of another early hole, 20th in event number 1.
I think Pat Vellner is one of your top picks who could win this event. But with the weird quirks that are a part of this, the unbroken single unders, the unbroken walks, the pirouettes, there's some elements in here that, you know, Pat will even joke that he has a tendency to kind of mess up over the years.
Third of 4 heats here in this opening round is underway. And all the men getting to the top of that first of 3 climbs at about the same time.
Just wild to see the advancement of the sport since 2015 when we first saw pegboards unveiled at Pedal to the Metal in the final event of those games. And now we have athletes casually racing 3 unbroken pegboards with some of the best pegboards tasks still to come.
Right side, bottom right side of your screen in the gray shirt is Dallin Pepper. And Pepper is done along with Ubnix, Olsen, Alexander Caron, and here comes Will Morad. Alex Vigneault at the top of your screen. And now Saxon Panchik, as all the men are under their single unders, and Pat Vellner with an early trip at the bottom of your screen.
Dallin Pepper. I joked about the DARE team back in elementary school, Sean. Look at the rope that Dallin Pepper has. Do you know why that's in there? It's in there for single unders, and it's in there for crisscross. That is a rope that you can actually utilize to those specific skills.
Uldis Ubnix and Noah Olsen are the first men onto the single leg squats. Here comes Will Morad and Dallin Pepper, along with Alexander Caron towards the top of your screen as Pat Vellner now just getting to the single-legged squats. Alex Vigneault moving on, as well as Jay Crouch. Jason Hopper is there as well. Leaves Saxon Panchik is the only man on the single unders. He's in the background there behind Dallin Pepper in the black shirt. Noah Olsen is through. Uldis Ubnix is onto his hands. These are the only 2 men on this portion of the event, and Noah Olsen is going to take heat number 3. Uldis Ubnix looking to lock up a second place finish, and he just got hit with a no rep. Dallin Pepper is now in the lead here. Pepper is across. Pat Vellner is going to take 3rd, just ahead of Will Morad.
A slower heat than the previous one. The previous heat, your top 5 were faster than the first place.
Jay Crouch
this one.
Uldis Ubnix, pardon me, chaser across the finish line. And now Alexander Caron is in. Jason Hopper is across. Saxon Panchik and Alex Vigneault left on the competition floor. 20 seconds before we hit the time cap. The Saxon's going to get in inside of that. Vigneault will not.
10 seconds.
Execution. A wrinkle from Adrian Bosman. High stakes, high risk, high reward. But on the flip side, massive penalties on not being able to execute the movements themselves with the elements of unbroken. So, all right, Noah Olsen got across, but look at Uldis Ubnix. Watch him cross the line. Both hands must be clear. No, I know what it was. His hand stepped outside the lane. As far as the handstand walks, you have to stay in the white. If the fingers touch the black, it's a no rep.
1 heat remains. Overall leader Ricky Gerard will be in lane number 5. Bjorgvin Carl Gudmundsson will be in lane number 2. Just one of the most consistent male athletes we have seen ever in the sport.
I think he's so unappreciated, even though we do talk about him a lot. The greatest European male athlete to ever grace the sport, and as you said, Sean, one of the greatest ever. He's so strong, so conditioned. He has little holes whatsoever in his game, and gymnastics is one of those strengths.
3 pegboard ascents to start off. Jonakoski in lane 6 is out to an early lead with Lazar Jukic in lane 10.
A lot of the pegboard is about being smooth. don't want to fumble around with the peg, trying to get into the hole. You don't want to get it stuck, trying to pull it out too soon. Just a very smooth, methodical pacing. The only issues we've seen with people so far is almost coming off of the pegboard itself, but getting those pegs stuck.
Jukic and Koski are through. Krennikov, Adler, Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson, and now Justin Medeiros is onto the rope. And Ricky Garrard using the same rope that Dallin Pepper did. The same style, at least.
Well, what that does is it actually adds more weight to the rope, Sean. And when you add more weight to the rope, you can feel the rope a little bit better. You don't want a weighted rope for double unders, but what this allows an athlete to do is they can feel that single pass. It's a lot easier to manipulate, and it's a lot easier to control.
Yona Koski and Roman Krennikov, the first two men to the single-legged squats. Jeff Adler and Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson are there as well, as is Justin Medeiros, and now Ricky Garrard in the white jersey towards the left side of your screen.
Krennikov got one no rep just for extension through the top. Again, you can get a no rep and continue on.
Roman Krennikov, who has qualified for the CrossFit Games every year since 2018, finally getting to compete here in person. And also earlier this week met his newborn son for the first time as Yona Koski is on to the handstand portion. And here come Garrard and Medeiros right behind him. They are dead even. They're on the left side of your screen. Koski is in. Medeiros is slightly ahead of Garrard here. Medeiros is through. He's going to take second. Garrard is across in third. And now Lazar Jukic will beat Roman Krennikov in. And here comes Jeff Adler.
There are a lot of times in that low 2 minutes, Sean.
Moritz Fiebig is across, as is Bjorn Carl Gudmundsson.
Gudmundsson is upset.
Spencer Panchik, with less than 30 to go, should be able to get through here. And Willie Georges, at the bottom of the screen, is trying to get through as well. As Spencer is across with 15 seconds to spare. Willie Georges has got to get to that yellow line. And he will make it. But Yona Koski takes heat number 4, and now we figure out the top 20 times that will move on to round number 2. Send it down to Mike Arsenault.
Well, guys, the shorter the event, the more important strategy becomes because seconds matter. And Chase, you already alluded to the different ropes that Dallin Pepper and Ricky Garrard used. That heavier beaded rope on round 1. They'll bring it back in round number 3. Interestingly enough, we have the crossover, of course, coming up in round 3, something that has never been utilized before in a CrossFit competition. No one was practicing it in the warm-up area. The prevailing sentiment was you're not really going to learn it in such a limited amount of time. Plus, to get to round 3, you've guaranteed yourself a top 5 position. Anything after that is gravy, so they worried about the other movements rather than worrying about that crossover too early in this event.
I don't know, did you watch the women's final? It seemed to matter a bit on that one.
Let's take a look back over the first 4 heats here as we had a tight race between Heinrich Happelainen and Brent Fikowski, and Fikowski falls late on that handstand walk, and that allowed Heinrich Happelainen to take the win.
And Fikowski got 4th in the heat, but I don't know if his time was fast enough to make the top 20. Heat 2, Nick Matthew. Again, for these single unders, really it's whatever gets the job done. You want to bounce on 2 feet, you want to do them all on 1 leg, all that matters is that it needs to be unbroken.
Nick Matthew takes heat number 2, and then heat number 3 belonged to that man, Noah Olsen.
And Noah Olsen actually made up a lot of his time on the pistols. And obviously we all know how well Noah Olsen can walk on his hands over these obstacles. That's the thing with these obstacles. The obstacles are now nothing new, which is crazy to say, but the advancement as this sport grows, we're gonna see the pirouettes on the parallel bars from a press to a handstand. But the big race here went from the single unders to Koski. Was definitely not coasting at the end of this one. So Koski gets the win in 4, but now this is The thing I love is that they're just taking the top 20 fastest times.
And here they are, Noah Olson at 1:59.65 seconds. He is your top time. Justin Medeiros will move on, as will Ricky Garrard.
20 athletes advancing on to our semifinal.
Oh, wow.
Is through. Velder will make it. Brent Fikowski just sneaking in. Only 6/100ths of a second ahead of Colton Mertens. So Mertens the last man into that field of 20. So there's Noah Olson.
You see on the right side, Pepper, who had that beaded rope earlier, is switching it out for his normal rope that he's going to use for the double unders on this.
Brent Fikowski in the black shirt back there, you mentioned back in 2019, had a very costly fall on a handstand walk that probably got him cut earlier than people thought he would be. But he survives this one and moves on to round 2. Only the top 5 times move on to the final round. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, the semifinal round of event 3 for the men. We are set for the second of 3 rounds here in event number 3, the second event that the men are doing here on day number 1 of the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games. Semi-final round, the pegboard reps go down, but now they are strict. We have the double unders and the pirouette on the handstand walk.
All right, look at the strict pegboard. Look at pull-ups in general, kipping pull-ups, weighted pull-ups. How often do you train strict? If it's not, you should. The same thing is now being put into play with these strict pegboards. Double unders are double unders, pistols are pistols, but the pirouette into the handstand walk is another advancement on the challenges that athletes should be facing during the off season. Adapt or die goes exactly along with that. Can you adapt on the fly? Are they worried about the press to handstand, or are they gonna skip past the crisscross and the double unders? Unbroken or bust is the element that we've seen trip up people in a major way so far in this event.
Recipe for Success presented by Trifecta. The start list for the first of 2 heats here in round number 2. Brent Fikowski, who flirted with disaster in the first round, he will be down in lane number 9.
Definitely not the start Brent has wanted. His place finishing in event number 1. His fall in the first round might be the wake-up call he needs to get back to the Brent Fikowski we know he is.
And you have one of the tallest athletes right next to the shortest athlete in the field, Brent Fikowski, right next to Colton Mertens, the two of them separated by just 6/100ths of a second in round 1.
Please hold for a second, please. We'll let you know when we're ready.
The men will have to do 2 of the strict pegboards. The women had done 1. And the big test here is just that upper body strength and stamina. The ability to go through this. We talked to some coaches about their athletes coming into this. Caroline Lambre, who is Jeff Adler's coach, said if you haven't been practicing things like this, you've missed the boat. She said specifically is when wall walks were unveiled last year, it opened the door to the past. Right? Strict anything. The big thing is, like, you know, CrossFitters, they're natural kippers, right? It's like fried food. I'm gonna take a movement, can I kip that, right? Can I fry that? Who knows? The opposite should be true. Can you do that strict? How heavy can you do that? Can you do a, you know, whether it's pegboards, toes to bar, rope climbs, how can you make a simple movement easier or more challenging? And you can do that with distance. You can do that with implements. And what I think we're seeing here after this event is that the playbook that has always been the playbook, people are starting to go back to chapter 1. The basics of gymnastics, things you have to learn. Fitness in 100 words. Pressing the handstand is in there. Pirouettes are in there. These are the things you went into open gym with your buddies. You're like, hey, let's play a game of horse, but with gymnastic skills. You see that with deficit handstand push-ups. You just stack up plates and everybody does one handstand push-up until you can't.
There's a delay right now because there's a discrepancy about
Under 1 minute, athletes.
a time from one of the athletes from the prior heats. They're getting that sorted out, but this is the group of men that will be out for the first heat. We're not going to change that. There's Justin Medeiros, who will be in the next heat. Austin Spencer, he and his wife Caroline, both competing here. 5th time a married couple has competed together at the CrossFit Games.
Stand by. All right.
2 strict pegboard ascents for the women. And it's Pat Vellner who's out front for the men, pardon me. Pat Vellner who's out in front early. And Travis Mayer right there on the lead. Case Roman Krenikoff is there as well. As now both Vellner and Mayer are done.
Number 8, Samuel Quant. Vellner, though, making his way up.
Adler struggling a little bit. What you see is you want to be a bit tighter in that, how he gets extended there. That's a tough position to be in for a strict pegboard.
Will Morad and Pat Vellner, the first 2 to the 50 double-unders. Again, these have to be unbroken. Sam Quant, Travis Mayer, and Roman Krenikoff now onto the rope.
Krenikoff also in the mix.
And most instinct would go to go as fast as you can. This is a race. Yes, this is a race. You do need to go as fast as you can. But 50 unbroken slow, it will be always faster than 50 unbroken with a few misses as fast as you can.
Morad and Vellner get through cleanly. They are onto the one-legged squats.
Single leg squats.
Vellner on the left, Morad is on the right.
The halfway marker.
Roman Krenikoff, Travis Mayer, and Sam Quant. Now here comes Austin Spencer. Brent Fikowski is going to have to finish at least in the top 5 here if he wants any shot of moving on. Fikowski towards the bottom of your screen. Remember, if they get a no rep for putting their foot down, losing their balance, they start back at 0. Here comes Colton Mertens as the last man onto the one-legged squats. Vellner is through. And Vellner onto the handstand walk. He's got to complete the pirouette now in the box. That is no problem for him. Here comes Will Morad. Sam Quant has moved into 3rd. And Travis Mayer is in 4th. But it's going to be Pat Vellner who's going to win this first semifinal heat. Will Morad will take 2nd. Sam Quant fell. And that leaves Roman Krenikoff and Austin Spencer fighting for 3rd. Here comes Roman. Spencer is done. Now Jeff Adler will get across. And it's a sprint between Fikowski and Quant, as Travis Mayer and Colton Mertens are still on the competition floor. Enrico Zanoni hasn't even gotten through his pegboard climbs yet. So Pat Vellner at 209.06 seconds. And Mertens trying to get inside the time cap, and doesn't look like he made it. But Pat Vellner by 6 seconds over Will Morad. Your top 5 out of that heat: Vellner, Morad, Krenikoff, Spencer, and Adler. 2:37.70 seconds is the time that belongs to Adler. You got to beat that if you want to get into the top 5. Final heat here in this semi-final round. Noah Olson will be in lane number 1 at the far end of the floor, had the fastest time in round 1.
He also had the most flawless run of the athletes in the quarterfinals for this event.
10 seconds, athletes on your green starting
The thing for Noah is that if you can get that confidence going, you can get him in front of the crowd. That's a big thing for Noah Olson when it comes to competition.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. All eyes are on
2 strict pegboard climbs here. And so far, it really hasn't been a problem for the majority of the athletes.
Noah Olson fumbling a bit with the peg. Now, if you have your feet, it's not a big deal, but no, that right hand had missed 3 as far as like placements.
Ricky Garrard in lane 7 in the leader's jersey is done. Medeiros is in 2nd place behind Ricky, 50 unbroken double unders. And here comes Medeiros. 2:37.70 seconds. That's the 5th best time that belongs to Jeff Adler. You gotta beat that if you want to have a chance.
Again, the speed element here is being unbroken. For the things you're accustomed to in your own affiliate. You can hear your rope. The music's not pumping too loud. There's no crowd. There's no pressure. A lot of these little things have massive impacts on your ability to stay smooth on these movements.
Garrard gets through cleanly on the 50 double unders, and he is on to the 10 single leg squats. He's got to start on the left leg. Here comes Medeiros in 2nd. Jukic, Majeros, Nick Matthew, and Jonakoski are behind the 2 leaders right now as Koski and Matthew move on to the one-legged squats at the same time. Here comes Guy Majeros and Heinrich Happelainen now in the back of the black shorts just off the pegboard. Noah Olson is stuck on the pegboard, has yet to complete his 2 climbs, and Cole Sager at the other end of the floor has yet to get through his as well. Garrard is done. 2:09.06 seconds is the top time. That belongs to Pat Vellner, and Ricky Garrard looking to find himself in that group of final 5 athletes. Justin Medeiros sits in 2nd. Now here comes Nick Matthew and Guy Majeros. So Ricky Garrard is going to take heat number 2, and Ricky Garrard, we will see you in the final. Here comes Justin Medeiros. He is in. Pat Vellner now has the 3rd best time. Majeros is across. And Nick Matthew. Jonakoski is in.
Looking for that top 5. Jonakoski getting it done in 2:16.
We are going to have ourselves quite
There's Lazar Jukic.
See the times now. You can see your top
Ricky
5.
Garrard
30
and
seconds.
Justin Medeiros both beat Vellner's time. So the 3 of them will get in.
Spinning it right round.
Will Morad was 2nd out of the last heat at 2:15.42 seconds. Majeros beat that, as did Nick Matthew.
It is going to be a heavyweight showdown. 10 seconds remaining.
Noah tapping out as far as trying to make the next climb, and honestly, where he's at, he's not getting another pegboard climb in that time. Another a smart move again. Day 1, 3 more days after. Well, no, 4, because we got action tomorrow now.
Event 2 that was supposed to be done today will be done tomorrow, as Ricky Garrard gets the heat win. And it looks like it's going to be Garrard, Medeiros, Majeros, Matthew, and Vellner.
Pat Vellner has some of the best upper body pulling strength and endurance in the field, and when you get him on his hands, he gets to lean into that gymnastics background and that ability to just move his body in space. Again, one of those key elements of the core methodology that is CrossFit. Noah Olson is in it, that mistakes. First peg, 2nd attempt, that just ended up breaking him. But Ricky Garrard, we talked about pressure getting to him. We know about the nerves that he had before Torium Pro. The win that he took in event 1, the nerves seem to be gone. And with Ricky Garrard, when there was expectations of, how was he going to be received by the fans? How was he going to handle being back in the spotlight for the first time in nearly 5 years? This is a lot of momentum for Ricky Garrard so far.
While we await the official announcement of the 5 men who move on, let's go down to Mike Arsenault.
Of the sport with the pegboard in this event, and younger athletes taking the stage as older athletes end their competitive careers. There's still a lot of firepower, however, in the athlete warm-up area, as 3 former champions are coaching athletes. And at one point, within 20 feet, I saw Sam Briggs, Matt Frazier, and Ben Smith. So the history of the CrossFit Games is still very represented, well represented in the coaching ranks.
Thanks, Mike. So it is going to be Garrard, Medeiros, Vellner, Mahieros, and Nick Matthew. As Matthew beats out Will Morad by 3 seconds to get inside the top 5. The 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games are sponsored by Trifecta, the official meal delivery partner of CrossFit. NOBULL, no excuses, no shortcuts, no gimmicks, no tomorrows. NOBULL. U.S. Army, what's your warrior? Thorne, the official supplement partner of CrossFit. And RP Strength, the official nutrition coaching platform of the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games. We are down to the final 5. Winner take all here in event number 3 for the men. Glad you're with us, everybody, and what has been an exciting evening so far inside the Coliseum of the Alliant Energy Center. I'm Sean Woodland with Chase Ingram. We have Mike Arsenault down on the competition floor. Final round of the Skill Speed Medley presented by Yeti. The pegboard ascent is now down to 1, and we add in the double under crossover and the pirouettes on the handstand walk.
Oh, we saw in the women's field that it was the crisscross over on these double unders, even though these press to handstand is looming. The one everybody wanted to practice when they had it announced, but the one that they should be is looking at this crisscross, and that's the adapt or die that we're talking about. Adapt to the situation given to you, or fall behind the rest of the pack. Unbroken is no longer in play for the crisscross. I mean, look at the movements on display in this event. if you want to fast forward to 2023, what is possible in a year from now with the tests that we're getting here in 2022?
There's Ricky Garrard, who was practicing that crossover during the break with a rope that he would traditionally use for double unders, but then went and switched it out.
Well, because
when he used for the single unders.
He couldn't get a single one in practice with his other rope. So he's bringing that one back out here.
There's Justin Medeiros, who is in 3rd place overall after the first event. Next to him, Pat Vellner, who finished 20th in event number 1, and Nick Matthew. Guimayeros also with that segmented rope.
Stand by.
One strict pegboard ascent, and then the portion
Justin Medeiros
for the women is up next, and Medeiros slipping early.
He slipped early, and he lost the peg behind the pads. He had to go behind the plate and get it.
Garrard is done first. Here comes Pat Vellner.
Okay, Nick Matthew.
Nick Matthew has figured this out. Trying to be the first athlete we've seen get past this part of the event. And look at Nick Matthew, he's got 5 remaining. Ricky Garrard is struggling. Pat Vellner has started to string some reps together. Guimayeros is as well. And Guimayeros, I think, is trying to pay attention to what Matthew is doing. And Guimayeros is in 2nd place. And Matthew is through. Now on to the 10.
Somewhere in the crowd is a happy, smiling Adrian Bosman after what Nick Matthew just did with those crisscrossovers.
And Matthew almost lost his balance. He gets through the first 10 on the left leg. And now Medeiros is through. But Justin Medeiros trying to retake the overall lead from Ricky Garrard. There is Adrian Bosman, the competition director, on the left side of your screen. As Guimayeros is through. Here comes Nick Matthew. Now he's got to start in a seated position and press to a handstand, walk across those parallels and get down the ramp, and that is no problem. And Nick Matthew has got to get across the yellow line, and Nick Matthew is going to win event number 3. Justin Medeiros is back on the handstand, and he can't get himself into a supported position. Guimayeros and Pat Vellner have gotten through the double unders. 30 seconds to go as Guimayeros approaches the pirouettes along with Medeiros. And there goes Guy. Medeiros can't get it pressed out yet. So Guimayeros will take second. 10 seconds to go. Medeiros has finally got himself upright. Medeiros will take 3rd place in the event. Vellner will finish 4th, and it's Ricky Garrard in 5th. But how about Nick Matthew?
Man, you get your golden ticket in the most unconventional way ever. And Nick Matthew has been a handful of points outside the top 5 at semifinals 2 years in a row. Unbelievable.
And Nick Matthew, his first event win of his career at the CrossFit Games, and he gets to talk to Mike Arsenault.
Nick, this is your first CrossFit Games, your first win, 100 points in event number 3. This might be the loudest I've ever heard the Coliseum on a Wednesday night. What does that victory mean to you, staring down 4 of the most famous names we have in CrossFit?
You know, I can't even describe it. This is absolutely insane. This experience is just crazy from the beginning so far, and it's just, I'm super happy to have made it. And yeah, that's all I got.
Your performance in the final was very impressive. My favorite part of your performance, I think, was in round number 1 when you had kind of the Rocky Balboa skip. You had the crop top. You look like you're Rocky Balboa in Rocky 3. Why did all those movements line up for you so well in this event?
Man, I don't know. I've just always been a kid at heart. I like playing at the playground and take my little one there every day, and yeah, just develop the skills for that fun stuff. So.
29th place on event 1, first place here in event 3. We'll see you later this evening.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.
So you're telling me what we do outside the box has an influence on what we do inside the box, and now the competition floor.
Well, Justin Medeiros, he loses his peg right there, had to go get it, and that put him behind early, but Nick Matthew, look at, you want to know how it's done? That's how it's done. That's how it's supposed to look, and that's why it was programmed here at the CrossFit Games. It's not gimmicky when you see someone tackle it like that. And think back to what Dave Castro said when the pegboard first showed up in 2015. My job is not to showcase the athletes, it is to challenge them.
The fact that you can't do it is not my problem. The fact that you can't do it might show you what you should need to be working on in the offseason next year.
Nick Matthew, 2:14.28 seconds. He and Guy Majeros, the only two men to finish the final heat. First career event win for Matthew, as that does it for event number 3 for the individuals. We're going to take a break. When we return, team action continues. Stay with us, everybody, at the 2022 NOBULL CrossFit Games.